Okay, now, since this is the very first day of school, one of the things that I always like to do is to make a project and let you just see the machines being worked. So what I want to ask is, as a class, if you would just shadow me. In other words, when I move over to one of the other machines, you just follow around. Don't get so close that you might get hurt. Once you've seen what I've done in adjusting the machine or whatever, you can kind of move away and let someone else come in. It usually works real good, and we have good luck. I never know, though, what's going to happen. Now, this project is the one that we are going to make today. I did not make this sample. It's a napkin holder. I've been looking last couple of days, last week, for something that would be easy enough to make in about 15, 20 minutes, because that's all the time we have to make this. So you can kind of, we'll know at the end of this, at the end of the period, whether we made it or not, whether I accomplished what I wanted to. Now, a napkin holder is fairly simple, of course. How many pieces of wood are there? What do you think? There's 2 pieces of wood? How many pieces of wood? There's 4, okay, because there are 2 pieces of dowel here. This would be used on a table, really good for picnics, right, because it would hold the napkins down. One of the things I found out was that you better, make sure that you know what size the napkins are. These cheaper ones, the beige ones here, or the brown ones, are smaller. So you should always have the real thing when you're trying to design a project. Don't just copy it, because maybe the last guy didn't take that into consideration. All right, before we actually make this out on the machines, I'd like to show you how the computer is tied in and how this can be designed on the computer. So let me just show you a couple of things. This is called a Macintosh computer. It has, maybe you've seen this on television, this is the mouse. This is how you move it around. Some of you use this, some of you haven't. We have a printer, so we're actually going to get a hard copy or a print of this. I have a keyboard here so that I can type in information. I'm just going to move to this side so that you can see what we have. First of all, the Macintosh works on the concept of choices. I have a little disk in here that has all this information on it, and I want to pull up Mac Paint. So I just put my arrow on there and pull up Mac Paint, and right now it is finding that on the disk and it's loading it up. I'll show you some of the things you can do. Do you see how this is black already from where you are? That's a paintbrush. You can choose all of these different things, and the paintbrush, in fact, I'm going to choose a little heavier paintbrush, a little heavier line, and by using the mouse, you can move it around to do even things like write your name. If you don't want quite that much of it, you can take the eraser. I've got the eraser here, and take a little bit off. If you want to remove something completely, like you've got a star up here or something like that, you don't say, that's not a very good job. Pick up the eraser, just like a chalkboard. Erase it right off there. All right, so you've got this on the screen. Now let's say we want to print it out. All you have to do is come down and say print a final print. Make sure the printer is on, which it is. And it right now is starting to make a hard copy or a print. The paper's coming from the bottom. Only takes a few minutes. Whatever is on the screen, it will be printed the exact same proportion on that piece of paper. All right, now obviously you could use this just like a pencil or pen to draw a project, to draw your project, to draw the napkin holder. Let me clear this off. I'm going to close this. You can look at this, see how that's printed out, just like I used a pen. I don't want to save those ideas. They weren't that great, were they? Let me show you now how I want to open a new, or start a new one, start a new screen. Let me show you how you could draw this napkin holder. I'm going to come over and pick up this thing. I'm going to go back to a narrower line. And let's just start here. See how I can draw this box? Any size I want, just by dragging this around, by moving it around. I'm going to come in about like so. Now I'm going to pick up another thing that's just a straight line. This is going to be the base, all right, of our like freehand. I'm not sure of the length of these lines. I'm just eyeballing it just like I would with a pen or pencil. I can go all the way over here. See this? Drag this thing around. See how that works? Come down. Got to accurately line it up. And then drag a line over here. Line these up. See how close we get. Okay, one down. Now I've got a little bit extra here. I don't know if you can see that from where you are, but I can clean that off with the eraser. One down, clean it up. That would be the base. Draw the dowels in there and draw the top piece. Now I can also add copy. In other words, I can print on here a napkin holder. And I'll start off with something like this. So I say, okay, that's not very bold, is it? So I can pull up here and I can make this shadow. Watch it turn to a whole different print. Do I want it a little bit larger? Go to 36. Went off the page, didn't it? Let's see if it's still on the page. I'm going to grab this hand and move it over. Okay, it isn't. With that size, it isn't on there. So I'm going to pull it back down, go back to 24. Okay, and then if you want to get rid of it, you can erase it, take it off of there. So you can add any kind of information that you want. Now I took some time last night to draw this thing out the best I could. I spent about 15 minutes. We don't have 15 minutes today for me to go through that. So I think you can see how I did it. Let me just see if I can get out of this program. Now I'm going to close this. Don't want to save the changes. And now I'm going to open. And I'm going to find my napkin drawing that's in the computer. You can see that there's two different programs here. Here's the napkin holder. I press that twice, and hopefully this will come up. There it is. I have all the dimensions on there for the napkin holder. I can move it down a little bit so you can see that I put, this is napkin holder, San Gabriel High School, wood construction class. We could add 1980. Whatever we wanted on there. Now I'm going to come down and I'm going to make a print of this so that we have a hard copy that I can take out in the shop and use. And basically I just measured this one. That was all that I did, is measured this, and we're going to copy it. That's the easiest way to make a project, is to have something to copy. If you want to make a coffee table this year, or if you want to make a checkerboard, find one. Find one in a store even if you have to. Project that I made one time, I had to go into Sears 3 times and look at it. Never bought it. Went in and checked out. The size of one of the angles was a little off. And I said, I wonder if this is going to sit. It was a chair. And I wanted it to sit just right. So I just kept going back in and using my tape measure, and got the information I needed. Much easier to copy rather than to try to design it. There's a couple of things that I changed about this, but one thing is, I don't see why you need this high dowel. It's a little unstable. I mean, you're never going to get that many napkins in there, right? You're just going on a picnic or something. Okay, we're getting our hard copy. Just about finished. Has all the dimensions in there, which I put on kind of with the typewriter here. By the way, you can use this Macintosh to do your homework, or to do your drawing. And there's our hard copy. This is what we will be using out in the shop. Okay, now what you'd like to do is we'll turn the camera off and we'll go out in the shop and we'll pick up where we are now. Okay, now we're going to make our napkin holder. This one's made out of walnut, but we're going to make ours out of some real nice oak. And this is our rough pieces of oak. They've already been planed down to the right thickness. We need 2 different thicknesses. This piece is smaller, of course, and thinner. First step is to belt sand the piece of wood. And we can do that with a belt sander. I like to wear eye protection all the time that I'm working. sure a lot easier than using a piece of sandpaper, right? Sanding this slow. I mean, I got through the whole piece in just a couple of minutes. Now, this one's already been sanded because I already cut a strip off in this last period. So these are ready now to have an edge jointed. So we're going to go around to the joiner, which is a machine over here. And the joiner is going to be maybe a little bit hard for you to see, but the joiner will straighten out an edge here. Just don't stand right behind it. What we now have is a nice straight edge. We have two boards, so we need to get both of them done. Safety things is I'd like you to wait by the machine until they come to a dead stop, even though we're kind of in a hurry to make this. Now we're going to go over and rip these boards to the right width. Over here on the table saw. Let's see, I need my plans. Could one of you guys get the plans for me there? This table saw is really a good machine to use for making the piece of wood the right width. Our plans here say that it needs to be a 6 3/4 inch for the large piece, so watch how I make that set up. I'm not really trying to teach you how to do this, but you do need to know how to measure. Set the machine up properly. 6 3/4. Make sure that you put the ripped edge against the fence. And I can hear it out. Might as well rip it at the same time. It's 2 3/8 of an inch. So we need to get a thin strip off of this. And once again, just a matter of setting the fence up at 2 3/8 of an inch. All of you will be able to do this, for your own projects. And you can make a project just this simple. I'm going to use a push stick this time. 2 3/8 is just about as narrow as you would want to get your fingers. Now what I'd like you to do is just kind of stay where you are, but I'm going to rejoin these two edges. And so I'm going back over here to the joiner. You don't even need to move because I'll be done before you even get over here. And then we're going to cut them to the proper length. We're over here at the radial arm saw. Radial arm saw is, one of the pieces is 9 3/4 of an inch. So I need to put a line on here. I always like to trim a little bit of wood off before I do this. We're making now the base out of the thick piece, just to remind you. We're going to have this finished here in just a minute. Go ahead and turn the exhaust on, will you? because this end is already square. Now we have both of the pieces of wood cut. And we can turn the exhaust back off because we won't need it on anymore. We can do that. Now, our next step is to drill the holes for the two pieces of dowel. And the dowels are 3/8 of an inch. And what I'm going to do is drill the 3/8 of an inch hole all the way through here. And then we'll come back and we'll enlarge the hole here because this has to be looser, right? It has to fit on there. So to do that, we can do it fairly simply just by taping the pieces together temporarily. It takes a little bit of measurement. And you got to know how to use a ruler in here. If you want to be able to do work that's got some quality to it. Because in this case I'm centering this just exactly or as close as I can. Using little reference marks. If I can hold it down there. I'll tape it on. I'll check it one more time. I'm checking the square, making sure that it's straight there. It is. I'll just tape it on there. Tape, of course, just temporary. Just scoot around just a little bit. But all right, now my next job is to determine where I'm going to put these 2 points. And maybe could you bring me a scratch awl? It's right up there in the tool panel. What I'm doing is I'm using my finger as a marking gauge. It says that we want them 7 1/4 inches. Just lay it here at the end, if you will. And then we're going to center it this way. Thank you. Well, I hit that just about right. It's always easier if you have a nice hole to start with here by using the scratch awl. All right. Now we're ready to drill the holes. So we're going to move over now to the drill press. We're going to need 2 different size holes, so I'm going to drill the 3/8 of an inch hole first for the dowel. Most of you have used a drill press before. Maybe some of you never have. Now you can adjust the drill press. I don't want this hole to go all the way through, but I want it to be pretty close to all the way through, so that it's good and strong, so that those pins are strong. Drill press, simple. Just hold down on your piece of wood, drill the hole. One hole is drilled. The other hole is drilled. Those are completed. Now we have another job of making this hole larger. So what I'm going to do, this is not easy to enlarge a hole like that. And we just need to make sure that we clamp the piece of wood down. We don't want that to be a tight fit with that top one. Make sure it'll go all the way through. We're going to use a hand screw clamp. See if we can get this down firm enough to... By the way, you're doing a good job of watching, keeping up here. This is the fun part, right, George?
Yeah.
It's a good part to be watching because it's where the excitement can be. If this isn't held down right, it has a tendency to want to bring that piece of wood right up on the drill. By clamping it down, all right. You see that we had a flaw in the wood, actually broke it. Now that means we have to go back to the drawing board, but not too far back. We just kind of back up. I'll cut another board here on a radial arm saw. I already have the size of the stick, just a slight delay, you might say, in the making the project. Cut it again. Now I'm going to attempt to line this up. Now I'm going to use these same holes. I got my pattern, right? See, that's the good thing, is I've got a pattern. So I can just, and this is really the way that I planned to do this morning anyway, was to make a pattern for this project. I just want to have some reference lines here so that when I get over to the machine I can hit right exactly where I want to. And then we hope that it'll line up. Now this shouldn't be any problem. Now I can hold it now. There's a hole through the first one. Second one. All right, now we've got our pieces mostly machined. Last item is to use the router. We have this. This is a square edge. We don't want that. We want to round it. So by using this. Not just rounded, but actually put some lines in it, some decorative edge. Table. And keep up with me here, camera. Come right in here. With the sticks, we want them 3 1/4 inches long. I think that's what the drawing says. Is that right? 3 1/4 for the length of the dowels. Yeah. All right. I'll put a little line on my miter box saw here. Cut them both the same length without even measuring them. Not measuring a piece of wood. Maybe a little bit hard to see this with the camera. I might bring the camera right around. You guys move back in this way. Got one cut. Alright, got the other one cut. Now they're ready. Now what I'd like to do is do a little bit of hand sanding. So with the hand sanding, we're going to use a pad sander. What happened to the other piece? Did somebody end up with that? Okay, thank you. This This, could be sanded in about, 10 or 15 minutes, but we're going to do a quick job of it. It's a lot better to sand it before we put the dowels in it, so we can go right over the top. Always do the bottom. I'm even going to round the tops of these off a little. The main idea of sanding is just to get rid of the saw marks or the mill marks. I could have gone over to the disc sander, maybe been a little bit quicker with this. The next key is to put some glue into just a little bit of glue. You don't want to get too much on here. Sawdust out too. But remember, the glue will show if you get too much. What it'll do is it will not allow the finish to take. This glue dries in about 5-6 minutes. Now I'm anxious to see how close this came. Clean that out a little bit. All right, that's the holder, right? One more thing though. We're just about out of time in the period, but we've still got a couple of minutes. So let me just show you that on the finish table over here. All you have to do is put on a coat of oil. And you can do this. This doesn't take much skill, as you can see. Just kind of move it around. I like to give it about 3 coats of this oil. And that's not the bell to leave yet. We've still got another minute. The bell's a little bit off today, so we'll be out of here in just a second. Do you finish the bottom of a project? Always, right? Always make it look good. Put a custom-made card on here. And I don't know, what do you think the value of this would be? Anybody have any idea? I think $12, something like that, $10, $12. Made out of solid oak, remember? How long did I sand on that? Too long, about a minute or 2 maybe, and some of you would have sanded a week, or at least 3 or 4 periods. It doesn't take that much sanding. But, ladies and gentlemen, there the project is, ready to go, finished. All that has to do is that oil has to be wiped off in about 15-20 minutes, and then another coat given to it tomorrow. In fact, you'll probably see me give another coat tomorrow. Remember, though, that we meet in the auditorium tomorrow. Let's go ahead and pack up your stuff, and you're dismissed.